What if I told you there's an absolutely transformative spiritual truth that will forever change how you understand death? Imagine knowledge so profound, so unexpected, it can free you from fear and doubt, shedding new light on a topic we all avoid. What happens to consciousness at the moment of cremation? Have you ever wondered if the soul simply disappears, or if it continues its journey in a way few can comprehend? Get ready, because the information I'm about to share now is shocking revelation, based on serious 20th century studies and psychic readings, capable of shaking your deepest beliefs about life after death. Subscribe to the channel and give us a like to access more stories like this. Before we begin this fascinating journey, I want to extend a very special invitation to you. Subscribe to the channel now, activate notifications, and join the conversation by leaving your comment below. I especially want to know if you've ever had experiences, doubts, or even fears related to death and the soul. Sharing your story here can be an important step in expanding this community of people who, like you, seek answers to life's big questions. Shall we embark on this journey of discovery, learning, and transformation together? This deep dive we're about to take is inspired by one of modern history's most respected psychics, Edgar Cayce. Know that this isn't mere spiritual speculation or something improvised, but content based on over 14,000 documented readings performed by Cayce between 1901 and 1944. Cayce was an American psychic phenomenon known as the Sleeping Prophet, who accessed what we now call the Akashic Records, a kind of universal library that holds all spiritual information about the soul and its journey. His readings are still studied today by researchers, psychologists, theologians, and spiritualists due to the depth and consistency of the messages he conveyed. To give you a sense of the importance of what we're about to discuss, it's crucial to understand that Edgar Cayce's answers challenge traditional beliefs and common sense about what happens when the body is cremated. Far beyond a physical process, there's a sequence of spiritual events that directly influence the soul's evolution. Cayce explained, through his readings, that cremation doesn't eliminate consciousness or erase the human essence. On the contrary, it can be a transformative stage, a moment of purification and transition that deserves to be fully understood. And it's exactly this knowledge we want to bring to light today, exploring real stories, symbolic explanations, and spiritual practices for you to apply in your life. Before we move forward, answer this for me. Have you ever thought about how your view of death impacts your way of living? Perhaps the hidden fear of finitude prevents you from feeling truly free and present. Well, know that by the end of this video, after understanding Edgar Cayce's revelations about cremation and consciousness, you'll be able to look at death with different eyes as a natural and meaningful step on the soul's path. Now, I invite you to dive headfirst into this fascinating universe, leaving behind preconceptions and opening your mind to the possibility that there's much more beyond what the eyes can see. Stay with me until the end, and together we'll unravel these secrets that can transform your existence. Let's start by learning a little more about Edgar Cayce and why his authority on the subject transcends time and doubt. Cayce was a simple man, a psychic who would fall asleep and access a deep state of consciousness to answer questions from ordinary people about health, past lives, and especially about the afterlife. Unlike many who prophesy unsubstantiated theories, his answers were meticulously recorded, cataloged, and studied in official archives. This gives his work a credibility few psychics achieve. His readings were so precise and coherent that they were even used to aid medical diagnoses at the time. But what makes Cayce especially fascinating for our topic is how he approached the soul on the boundary between life and death. What happens to consciousness when the physical body is broken down, and in particular, what occurs during cremation. According to him, the body is merely the soul's vessel, and when that vessel is burned, the soul continues its journey, passing through stages of transition that are never interrupted or harmed by the fire. From these solid foundations, we begin to understand that what conventional science often cannot explain, like the living essence that remains after physical death, finds answers in Cayce's spiritual work. Science acknowledges the material body but still hesitates to accept what causes the mystery of consciousness. Cayce's psychic teachings, however, open a window to this transcendent reality with certainty and compassion. Now, before I continue, I need you to interact with me. Leave in the comments what you most hope to understand about the soul and death. Your comment is very important for generating a rich and genuine dialogue where we can learn from each other. And remember, your subscription strengthens this current of seeking profound knowledge about existence. Together we will delve into the secrets of the Akashic records with respect, curiosity, and a sincere desire for growth. Based on Edgar Cayce's readings, we can highlight 3 surprising revelations about what truly happens to the soul during the cremation process, and each of them challenges myths you've certainly heard. The first novelty is that the soul suffers no harm from the body's fire. The physical process of cremation is merely the cessation of matter, while spiritual consciousness remains intact in subtle vibratory states. It's as if the body were a garment, which, when turned to ashes, releases the spirit for the next cycle. The second revelation concerns the so-called transition stages of the soul. After cremation, the soul passes through a path of purification and preparation for what is to come. Cayce described this passage as a journey in which consciousness detaches from earthly ties and begins an internal reordering, where acquired memories, emotions, and lessons are reviewed to align the soul with its greater mission. It's a process of self-knowledge and healing that occurs on spiritual levels, invisible to physical eyes, but fundamental for evolution. The third revelation involves the soul's interaction with what Cayce called the collective spiritual field, an environment where souls connect for energy exchange, learning, and welcoming. This field is like a meeting point, a space where consciences can elevate themselves, clear traumas, and receive guidance for the next incarnation. It's a powerful reminder that we are all connected in a larger web that transcends time and space. Each of these discoveries brings a new perspective on cremation, transforming it from a medical funeral procedure into an event of profound spiritual relevance. The idea that the soul is indestructible and that there's an ordered process after physical death opens a window of hope for those who fear loss and emptiness. And what's more, it shows us that death is not an end, but a metamorphosis that has always accompanied us. To generate even more connection, let me tell you a real story that exemplifies the power of these readings and their practical application. Meet Anna, a woman who lost her husband and was distressed by the cremation, fearing that his soul had been harmed in the process. Seeking answers, she turned to a psychic session based on Edgar Cayce's teachings. There she discovered that her husband went through a serene transition process, understanding that cremation allowed for a deep purification that would help him in his next spiritual phase. This revelation brought peace to Anna and transformed her grief into renewed faith, dispelling fears and insecurities. Stories like this show us that spiritual knowledge can be a true balm for the afflicted soul, offering comfort and clarity in the most difficult moments. And it's exactly this emotional connection that we seek to cultivate with you, a bond of empathy that makes the revelations even more vivid and powerful, capable of transforming the lives of those who receive them. To facilitate the understanding of such profound concepts, let's use a simple but extremely effective metaphor. Imagine that the soul is like a resident, and the physical body is the house where it temporarily lives. When the house is demolished or burned, the resident doesn't disappear. They simply leave to find a new place to live, more suitable for their next stage of life. This image helps break the fear that fire destroys the essence, showing that what really matters is what the resident carries with them, their experiences and energy. Analogies like this are powerful tools for simplifying complex and immaterial topics. They facilitate the processing of what might seem frightening or incomprehensible by creating clear mental connections that remain in memory and promote effective understanding. Now, I want to address a crucial point that many people face: the fear of death, especially related to cremation. It's very common to hear reports of apprehension about potential suffering at the moment of passing and about the soul's destiny. According to Edgar Cayce, these fears are understandable but unfounded. He explains that the soul is protected by vibrational fields that ensure its safety and comfort. and that the transition process is natural and supported by spiritual guides. By deconstructing these fears, we open space for a fuller and more loving acceptance of death as part of the flow of existence. This helps reduce psychological and spiritual resistances that so hinder inner peace, while preparing the person to live the present better, aware of the life cycle. Can I ask you here, how do you feel about the idea that the soul is safe and passive to a journey of purification after cremation? Write your reaction in the comments for me. I really want to know your doubts and reflections, as this enriches our exchange and strengthens the community. Finally, let's connect all this with spiritual practices you can use in your daily life to help yourself and your loved ones. Meditations focused on light and peace, prayers with the intention of healing for souls in transition, and deep reflections on the meaning of death are simple yet effective tools for those seeking comfort and spiritual growth. These exercises help integrate Cayce's knowledge into your practical life, providing a greater sense of control and purpose in the face of death's inevitability. Incorporating these practices creates a bridge between spiritual content and everyday reality, making learning active and experiential. This enhances the benefits of the guide and transforms knowledge into a tool for personal and collective empowerment. Now, I ask that you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share your experiences and questions in the comments. Your participation is fundamental for us to continue bringing content that broadens the view on spirituality and life after death. Together, we are creating a space of learning, support, and evolution, where every voice matters and every story contributes. Look out for upcoming topics, where we will delve even deeper into these teachings and reveal how consciousness can influence your future incarnations, in addition to the practical impacts of understanding cremation as a ritual of spiritual purification. Let's continue this journey with courage and an open mind towards discoveries that can change your life. Have you ever stopped to think about what really happens to the soul after death, especially when the body is cremated? Many cultures, beliefs, and even religious traditions have very distinct views on this moment. But what if I told you there's profound, documented knowledge that reveals what occurs in this process, going far beyond conventional interpretations? Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, offered humanity one of the most impactful visions on the soul's journey after cremation through his thousands of readings between the 19th and 20th centuries. Today, we will unveil these revelations together and discover how this understanding can transform not only our relationship with death, but also with the life we are living now. Before we continue, I invite you to leave your comment right below. I want to know, what is your biggest doubt or fear about death and the soul? Also, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so you don't miss any content that could change your perception of spirituality and the afterlife. Share this video too so that other people can awaken to these truths that often remain hidden in the recesses of the mind and heart. Let's begin by exploring more deeply what happens to consciousness during the cremation process, according to Edgar Cayce's readings. For Cayce, the body is like a temporary vehicle, a physical home where the soul resides during incarnation. When the body is destroyed, whether by cremation or natural decomposition, the soul suffers no harm. It simply detaches from this material shell to continue its journey. But this detachment is not a simple abrupt rupture. It's a process that involves subtle levels of consciousness and preparation for what comes next. Cayce described this stage as a transition of the soul, where the spirit goes through a period of reflection, healing, and purification. During this time, the soul is able to revisit key moments of the life it just left and understand the lessons it must assimilate for its evolution. Cremation, specifically, plays a very important role in this spiritual rite. By transforming the body into ashes, this method acts as a process of physical purification that reflects a spiritual purification, a cleansing of dense energies that may have remained linked to the body and are now released so that the soul can proceed more lightly. Here comes Cayce's first great insight. The soul's energy cannot be consumed by fire. Unlike the body, which transforms into ash and smoke, consciousness continues on a higher vibrational plane in the spiritual dimension. This idea can be comforting for many who fear that cremation destroys the essence of being. Now for a true story that exemplifies this explanation and helps reinforce this understanding. There once was a man named Carlos who lost his mother and was deeply impacted by his family's decision to cremate her. He felt immense anguish, questioning if her soul would somehow be destroyed or lost. In search of answers, Carlos found records of Edgar Cayce's readings and was guided to participate in meditation and spiritual healing sessions aimed at souls in transition. Over time, he felt a profound inner transformation, perceiving a serene and comforting presence of his mother in his daily life, which brought him immense peace. Stories like Carlos's show us that Edgar Cayce's revelations are not just theories, but living practices that can transform the human experience in the face of death and loss. They humanize the spiritual journey, giving hope and comfort to those who go through moments of pain. To better understand this link between soul and body, we can resort to a powerful metaphor. Imagine that the soul is the tenant of a house, that is, the resident, while the physical body is the temporary house in which it resides. When the house is destroyed, the resident does not disappear. They simply move to a new address. Even if the house has been burned, the resident remains alive, carrying with them all their history, their memories, and the lessons that made this journey worthwhile. This analogy helps to alleviate the fear and anxiety that physical fire can arouse in relation to the soul's destiny. This metaphor is a bridge that connects the abstract to the concrete, making it easier for our brain to understand what often seems like an impenetrable mystery. Furthermore, it symbolizes the impermanence of material possessions and reinforces the idea that our true essence is beyond the physical body. Another important aspect addressed by Cayce is the role of emotions and attachments that hinder the spirit's process of leaving behind the material world. During the transition process, the soul can become linked to emotions, fears, and even traumas that were not completely resolved in life. This fact can affect the speed and lightness with which the spirit advances on its journey. In the spiritual process of cremation, a kind of cleansing of these connections occurs, as dense energies are released, providing the soul with a more favorable environment for its evolution. For this reason, Cayce also emphasized the importance of prayers, meditations, and light rituals performed by family and friends to help this passage to the beloved soul. These practices function as energetic support that accelerates purification and the reunion with peace. Now let's talk about a very common fear. Does the soul feel pain during death, especially at the moment of cremation? Cayce's readings tell us that the soul does not feel physical pain, as it is beyond the body. The body experiences suffering, but spiritual consciousness detaches on vibrational levels, in a dimension where time and space do not exist in the same way we are accustomed to. This information is essential because many people are paralyzed by the fear of pain and suffering, which are natural feelings of the physical body, but are also roots of anxiety for the mind. Knowing that the soul is protected and follows a serene process helps to minimize the panic that these thoughts generate. Furthermore, Cayce reveals that there is a guardian soul and beings of light who accompany each being in this moment of passage. They provide comfort, guidance, and support during the transition from body to spirit. This vision opens up space for the idea that we are not alone or vulnerable in these moments, reinforcing hope and spiritual support. In this sense, I'd like to ask you, how do you feel now that you know there's this spiritual protection network during death? Does this transform how you face the end? Leave your comments so we can exchange ideas and experiences. Your voice is fundamental to enriching our community. Now, let's discuss the rituals and spiritual practices that can be adopted to assist the soul in the transition process after cremation. Cayce recommended some simple attitudes and exercises that anyone can apply, whether to help dear family members or to prepare their own consciousness for the inevitability of death. Among them are daily meditations focused on white light and purification, which help raise the energetic vibration of both the incarnated person and souls in transit. Prayers and invocations that ask for protection, comfort, and guidance for beings of light and spiritual guides. Deep reflection on the purpose of life and the lessons the soul wishes to achieve in the next incarnation. holding spiritual gatherings or ceremonies that celebrate the continuity of existence, valuing the connection between the physical and spiritual worlds. These practices not only strengthen the connection with the spiritual plane, but also promote a mental and emotional state of serenity that reduces the fear of death, encouraging a more fulfilling and conscious life. Applying these teachings in daily life is a fundamental step for the knowledge left by Edgar Cayce to go beyond the realm of ideas, transforming into actions that directly impact the quality of your existence. Have you ever thought about how the conscious choice of a farewell ritual, such as cremation accompanied by spiritual practices, can bring peace not only to the departed, but to everyone who remains? This awareness calls us to act with love, respect, and wisdom, promoting collective healing and strengthening the invisible bonds that unite all beings. Before we move on, strengthen your connection with us. Like the video, share it with friends who are also seeking these important answers for the soul, and subscribe to receive more content you won't find elsewhere. Together, we form a network of light and wisdom that expands horizons and transforms lives. Now, prepare to delve into the future consequences and benefits of a deep understanding of cremation and the soul's destiny. According to Edgar Cayce, by integrating this knowledge into your consciousness, you not only free yourself from fear and limiting beliefs, but also positively influence your future incarnations. This happens because understanding the soul's journey and purification processes activates a virtuous cycle of spiritual evolution that transcends physical death. You begin to live more aligned with your greater purpose, which creates conditions for future experiences to be more meaningful and uplifting. Imagine the soul as an invisible school where each life is a lesson. By acquiring reliable and practical information about what happens after cremation, you prepare your spirit for the challenges to come, avoiding unnecessary repetitions of fears and suffering. This represents an acceleration in your spiritual learning curve. Adopting this perspective also allows for a more loving and compassionate relationship with those who have already departed, as you understand their evolution and respect their process. This can also generate a feeling of gratitude for the opportunity of life and for the continuation of the journey, which is one of the greatest balms for the human soul. Finally, I want to leave a powerful reflection. Living with the awareness of what happens after death, especially in the cremation process, is an invitation to harmonize with the infinite, to recognize that we are part of something much greater than our physical existence can grasp. It is to accept that the soul is eternal and that each stage is a chance for growth, healing, and transformation. It was no accident that Edgar Cayce dedicated his life to bringing these messages so that you know you're not alone, that the passage through death is just another chapter in the soul's great story, and that light always prevails. Now, how about you join our community of seekers? Subscribe, like this video if it touched your heart, and share your experiences in the comments. Your voice is fundamental for us to continue this much-needed and true conversation. Remember, the soul's journey is continuous, and knowledge is the lighthouse that illuminates our path, so we can walk with more confidence, love, and understanding. Thank you for being here. See you in the next video. When we talk about the soul, death, and the rituals surrounding this mysterious process, it's common for many feelings and doubts to arise. The fear of the unknown, the uneasiness about what happens after the body ceases to exist, the deep desire for everything to have meaning and continuity. Now that we've delved into Edgar Cayce's revelations about cremation and the soul's spiritual journey, it's time to move on to topics that touch not only understanding, but also the practical and transformative application of this knowledge in our daily lives. We will therefore unravel how to overcome common fears and prejudices, how we can direct our current spiritual practice to support this process, and finally, understand the profound consequences and benefits that a conscious view of death can bring to our spiritual future. Starting with the deconstruction of fears and prejudices, how do you feel when you think about death, especially in relation to cremation? For many people, the image of fire consuming the body is agonizing. Some fear that the soul suffers, that something essential is destroyed, or even that cremation blocks spiritual continuity. This fear is reinforced by a culture that insists on avoiding the subject and by inherited beliefs that idolize specific rituals, without necessarily understanding what occurs on more subtle levels. It's this taboo that Edgar Cayce helps us break. According to his readings, the soul is immortal and cannot be burned or harmed by physical fire. He explains that just as the body is a temporary garment, the soul is not subject to the limitations of the material world and its transformations. It vibrates in an energetic dimension far beyond what we perceive. Therefore, cremation brings no spiritual harm. On the contrary, it functions as an instrument of purification, undoing energetic residues clinging to the body. Furthermore, Cayce emphasizes that the fear of death comes from excessive attachment to earthly life, to the body, to memories, and to material needs. This connection prevents the soul from liberating itself and raising its level of consciousness after the end of physical life. Recognizing this can help reconfigure how we face death, with more acceptance and calmness, seeing it as a natural passage, essential for the cycle of existence. It's also essential to consider the cultural construction of fear surrounding death. Our society frequently avoids the topic, preventing open and honest conversations. This emotional repression creates anxieties and insecurities that are reflected throughout our daily lives. When we allow ourselves to understand the spiritual aspects of the process, like Cayce's revelations, we create space for a healthier connection with the end of life itself. To illustrate this emotional deconstruction, I bring you the story of Anna, who went through a period of intense anguish after her father's death. Initially terrified by cremation, she felt unable to accept the idea that his soul could continue in peace after the body's destruction by fire. It was only by delving into Cayce's teachings, participating in meditation groups, and exchanging experiences with other people that Anna managed to deal with her fear. She realized that love and memory transcend matter and that her father was in a process of spiritual recovery. This brought not only relief, but also an awakening to a new way of living the present. Let's now consider how this understanding connects with current spiritual practice. If we know that the soul undergoes purification processes after cremation, is it possible to act to support this transition? The answer is yes, and these actions bring benefits both for the departed and for those who remain. Firstly, daily meditations focused on light, serenity, and raising energetic vibration are recommended. They create a harmonious field where souls can strengthen themselves and complete their journey more easily. Many practitioners report that, by dedicating a few minutes to visualizing white light surrounding their deceased loved ones, they feel a deep connection and intense emotional relief. Another essential practice is integrated prayers and invocations. These serve as a channel to send energies of healing, reconciliation, and blessings to the soul in transition. It's important that these prayers are made with clear intention, genuine love, and respect, as the power of directed thought can act as a driving force to accelerate the spiritual process. It's also recommended to cultivate reflection and self-knowledge about life's purpose. The more aligned we are with our spiritual mission, the less we will fear death, and the greater our ability to embrace the transition of those we love. The regular practice of self-assessment, often through writing or sincere dialogue with a spiritual mentor, allows us to identify patterns that need healing and release. Finally, light rituals and farewell gatherings can be organized to create a sacred space where grief is welcomed, gratitude is expressed, and spiritual communion is celebrated. These collective moments not only strengthen emotional bonds, but also elevate the vibration of the entire group, positively influencing the soul's passing process. It's common to hear reports from people who adopted these practices and experienced a profound emotional and spiritual cleansing, feeling greater peace and understanding in the face of losses. This internal transformation is one of the greatest gifts that applying Cayce's knowledge can bring. Let's move to the next step. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it so more people can benefit from these teachings. Your interaction strengthens our community and helps us bring more light to those who are seeking. Now, exploring the future consequences and benefits that a deep understanding of death, cremation, and the soul's journey can bring, we observe an impact far beyond the simple act of farewell. This consciousness offers us the real possibility of evolving not only in this life, but in future incarnations. According to Edgar Cayce, when we understand and accept the cycle of life and death, with all its spiritual meaning, we are preparing the soul for a lighter and more evolutionary path. This preparation involves detaching from the emotional and energetic ties that limit us, creating conditions for future experiences to bring more learning, happiness, and connection with the divine. An analogy Cayce used for this evolution was that of a river that flows peacefully when it's not blocked by stones or debris. Each conscious attitude, such as understanding the cremation process in a spiritual light, is like removing those obstacles, allowing the soul to flow smoothly on its journey. This vision allows for a greater sense of control over one's own life and destiny, because we understand that the choices we make, both in life and at the moment of passing, resonate for a long time. Knowing this encourages us to act more consciously, valuing today without fear of tomorrow. Moreover, understanding cremation and the continuity of the soul can transform our relationship with the death of others. We begin to see it not as a definitive loss, but as a passage to new cycles. This shift in perspective promotes compassion, empathy, and respect for each soul's individual process. No less important is the impact this has on one's own perception of purpose and personal growth. Knowing that the soul has multiple lives and that each one is a new opportunity to learn and evolve brings immense comfort. It's an awakening to live life more intensely, with deeper questions and a greater desire to leave a positive spiritual legacy. For all these reasons, incorporating this understanding is more than mere learning. It is a complete transformation that affects mind, heart, and spirit. It is the possibility of walking with more hope, courage, and clarity toward the unknown that so often provokes fear. Before I finish this section, I want to ask you, how does this perspective influence your way of living? Do you feel you can make different choices based on this knowledge? Share your experience in the comments. Your voice is important to inspire other people who, like you, seek answers on the soul's journey. In summary, looking at death and cremation as part of a divinely orchestrated process is an invitation to a profound transformation of being. Edgar Cayce offers us a safe compass in this unknown territory, showing that fire does not burn the soul and that the spiritual journey continues, filled with meaning, learning, and evolution. Now, more than ever, it's time to embrace this understanding, to apply the spiritual practices that strengthen this passage, and to live conscious of the impact our attitudes have, not only in this life, but in all those yet to come. If this video is making sense to you, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it so more people can free themselves from old fears and walk towards a full and enlightened life. Also, access the comments section. I'm here to read and respond to your every word, because this exchange is what makes our community grow in love and wisdom. In upcoming videos, we will delve even deeper into these powerful revelations from Edgar Cayce, bringing advanced practices for your spiritual development and to honor souls in transition. Until then, keep your light burning, your heart open, and your mind connected to the eternal truth that dwells within you.